力を貸せ。先生、てめえがボスじゃねえのかよ。しらけんな。黒霧、コンプレス。また眠らせてしまっておく。
Oh God.
ここまで人の話を聞かねえ。
Oh no.
逆に感心するぜ。
聞いてほしい。
Bakugo! No!
最大火力でぶっ飛ばして。
Oh no, Bakugo. Oh no, there's no time to blow shit up, Bakugo. Think, Bakugo. Think! 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 Pizza? All Might! My Hero Academia is an anime that I can honestly say that I have been sleeping on. I've only started watching it last year, and damn, have I been late to this party. My mate was constantly telling me to watch it, but I thought it would be a typical shonen anime. A young boy who's a bit soft, innocent, not spectacular, but due to hard work and motivation and dedication, he suddenly becomes the strongest of them all. Like all of them. And after watching it, I'm still kind of right. I mean, the main character, Izuku Midoriya, a.k.a. Deku, does cry a lot. Like, a lot. Like, the first 5 episodes is basically him just crying most of the time. But still, I don't mind shonen anime, but the level of commitment you need to keep up is not something I can do. Dragon Ball Z took the life out of me. It was good, don't get me wrong, I love Dragon Ball Z, I watched that to death. But I don't think I can watch it again. I needed rehab or something after all those sagas, especially that Frieza saga, which went on for like 20 episodes for one fight. It was an epic fight. I'm so glad Goku won, but damn, I think I lost weight watching that saga. But back to the present. It's 2022 or 2021. Well, I started watching 2021. It was lunchtime, I was bored, I flipped on Netflix, saw My Hero Academia, remembered my mate telling me it's better than what I'm assuming it would be, and thought, why not? And so, I watched, and watched, and watched, and now I'm addicted. Honestly, right now, I don't know if this is just hype, but it's seriously in my top 10 anime of all time. Possibly top 5, but I think that's actually hype. I think we need to calm down a little bit here. But anyway, this video will be me talking about My Hero Academia. So warning, there may, most likely be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the series and you want to watch the series and then watch this video, do that, and I swear you won't be disappointed. But what made me want to make this video in particular is something that hit me the other day, where I started to compare My Hero Academia to all the big Western superhero films over the last decade and a half. Something that I noticed in a recent episode that I've watched, obviously not a recent episode in the current state, but the recent episode I watched, that I noticed My Hero Academia did better than most Marvel and DC films of recent times. So I'm going to go over what My Hero Academia is all about, then what they do so well in terms of storytelling and the characters, and then what My Hero Academia does so well that recent Western superhero films and TV shows haven't been able to do so well or just missed out completely. I might get slaughtered for this, I might make no sense, but hey, that's why I hide behind an animated cat these days. As mentioned, My Hero Academia does follow similar shonen tropes. Our main protagonist is Deku, and this is how good the writing is. I hated the main character in the beginning. The dude cried and whined, and I was like, oh my god kid, get over it! He's in a world where people are born with superpowers, or as they call them in the show, quirks. They are part of society. There's no hidden personas or anything, no one working in the Daily Bugle and suddenly goes in the telephone box and pull their shirt out. No, they're all members of society, participating, adding to the economy and so forth. The only difference is they're also heroes protecting society from villains. Deku adored the heroes, particularly the top number 1 hero, All Might. A hero whose power is basically mega punches and mega kicks and can jump really high. So kind of like Superman but without the laser eyes and the cape. I think he's also American, or he went to America. The second top hero referred to him as the American, and there's a flashback of him being in America, so whether he's American or was a Japanese transfer student in America, I'm not too sure. Anyways, Deku was desperate to be a hero and to be like All Might, and he wanted to go to UA, one of the top high schools in the country for training heroes, and be the next number 1 hero. Except for one thing. Deku was quirkless. The poor boy had no powers. He wasn't born with any quirk and he's just a regular old human. Even his mum has some powers and it's not that great, but even then, he is quirkless. And hence all the crying. All that crying, all the tears and all the whining, to the point where I'm like, Jesus Christ, kid. But until he bumped into All Might, who gave a piece of his hair to swallow so that he would inherit All Might's power. Yeah, I know I kind of brushed over that. It's a pretty big scene, but it was also pretty creepy and weird. Yes, Deku got his power by swallowing All Might's hair. Let's just move on from there. But yeah, Deku now has All Might's power, known as All for One. So now he himself can do major vast punches and crazy ass kicks. He was on his way to become the next All Might. Kind of. I mean, not in the beginning, he needed a lot of training, but that was the aim of the goal for him. Now, I thought we were going down the cliche of don't meet your heroes with All Might and Deku. In that, All Might is actually truly evil, or behaves evil outside the public eye. Sort of like Homelander from the US series, The Boys, or Omni-Man from the cartoon Invincible. And Deku learns the truth about this and has to take down his hero. I mean, look at All Might. Look at those eyes. Can you really trust him? Well, you can. He's actually sick. Like, he's such a good hero. I've been watching superhero films and shows and even read a few comics in the West, and he's definitely a real hero. So no, he's not the bad guy. The bad guy, or god, is something called the League of Supervillains that is led by Tomura Shigaraki, a group of people who also have quirks but use it for the wrong reasons and hate the heroes. I have to admit, Tomura Shigaraki, the leader of the League of Supervillains, is such a great character, and again, another character and another part of the show that is so well written. Very rare have I seen insecurity and self-doubt so well displayed in a villain, and yet you still find him frightening, especially his powers. Seriously, his quirk is that if his whole hand touches you, you decay within a few seconds. And his mentor is All Might's arch nemesis, known as All for One. He's the top dog villain, and I'll be going to him in a bit more detail later. So, back to Deku. He's got a new quirk from swallowing All Might's hair, and he's enrolled to UA. And this is where we meet the rest of the cast of heroes in class 1A, that is led by teacher Shota Aizawa, a.k.a. the Eraserhead, who has such a cool power whereby when he looks at someone, that person loses their ability to use their quirk. If I could bother to cosplay at all, it would be this guy. So in Deku's class, we have main cast. We have Todoroki, powers of ice and powers of fire, and is the quiet, strong type, who's maybe my favorite character, not sure. Bakugo, Deku's bully for years and obsessed with being the best and has like basically cannons for hands. Uruka, the love interest, I mean it is showing there needs to be a love interest, although she isn't as useless as some other shonen female leads. Ida, the noble and righteous one, an awesome classroom lead. Tokuyomi, cool one with one of the strongest powers I've ever seen. He literally has this giant raven or some sort of shadow demon inside of him that comes out and literally can destroy almost anything. Although if the power of the shadow demon thing gets even stronger and stronger, then he loses control and the shadow demon ends up trying to kill him as well. It's messed up, but it's so cool at the same time. Minato, he's a pervert, let's not go into him. And a whole lot of other characters where if I were to name and describe them all to you, you'd probably switch off by now. And so, the series in a nutshell is watching Deku learn and build his skills. He does suck a lot in the beginning though. Like a lot of arms get broken. Going through the trials of UA, which is also a lot of fun and has great pacing, and also fighting waves of bad guys. It does sound like any other anime, I get it. I felt exactly the same when my mate told me about it. From a high level point of view, it is like any other anime, but when it comes to the way of the story is told and the characters, it definitely has its own unique personality. One thing I love about the show is how well they intertwine all the characters in Class 1A so well with each other. Obviously, some are a bit more focused than others, such as Bakugo with his unreasonable and unconditional hate towards Deku, and probably to everyone else, but everyone still loves him anyways. Leader and his story with his brother was really integral to Season 2, trying not to say too much to keep away from spoilers. Todoroki and his father Endeavor. Endeavor is the second best hero and really wants to surpass All Might and try to make Todoroki to be that hero who becomes number one, which causes Todoroki to have a disdain towards his own father. but every character is so well introduced to the level they need to be. While you don't get everyone's backstory, it's okay. You don't need to, in my opinion. It would just be overload. The show presents their personality, vulnerabilities, and their roles with the right amount of significance to the overall story. As I mentioned before, even the villains are so well written. I've already mentioned Shigaraki, but there's also one called Stain, who I won't go into too much because if you haven't seen the show and you want to, I want you to go and watch it and experience Stain without any information to understand how great of a character he is and his story. There's so much I could say about him, but I don't want to spoil it for you. I was so glad I saw and experienced the story of Stain without anyone telling me anything about him because it was so fucking good. There are other villains such as Dabi, Twice, Atisuru, who are just to name a few in the League of Villains. Again, all the characters in the League have their own personalities and add their rightful level of significance to the main story. The storytelling of the show is great. While Deku is the main protagonist and we follow his story, the show also tells stories of others so well. And more importantly, unlike a lot of anime, it doesn't feel forced. Ida is a great example. Initially you see him as a very serious guy, someone who doesn't seem personable. But the show slowly revealed his character as someone who is personable, but takes on a lot of responsibility, which is why he became the class representative. And then you learn later on, it's because he has so much admiration for his brother Tensei, who is the well-respected hero Ingenium. You then see Ida becoming irresponsible, which is unlike him, when he finds out his brother is hurt by a villain. And then you see Ida become irrational when facing the villain, and then Ida learning from his mistakes and then tries to teach others not to make the same mistake. The character building for Ida was absolutely well told. And in the same story arc, you also saw Todoroki getting over his hate of his father, learn to make his father's ability as his own, and Deku showing his real leadership. All in that one story arc with Ida. All of this was done, again, so flawlessly. In most anime, they would dedicate an episode to each character to build their own individual arcs and story. And that's okay, but some may be a bore if there are characters you just don't care about, and you wonder why a whole episode is dedicated to this one insignificant character. But in My Hero Academia, they are able to intertwine characters so easily and so flawlessly that it doesn't feel like a chore listening to their stories, or a distraction to the main plot. There's a risk that some characters do get a backseat role as their stories aren't fleshed out in the beginning, but for me, because they did the initial character story building so well, I'm excited for when they flesh out the remaining characters later on. It just makes the show constantly exciting and fresh. You're not stuck between a handful of characters. There are so many others, and the writing is so well done that they're actually interesting, and their backstories and developments adds real significance and meaning to the overall story. And this applies not just for the heroes, but for the villains too. The reason I decided to make this video wasn't to just talk about my newfound love for My Hero Academia. There are so many animes I watched, or started watching last year, that I could also go on and on to talk about. And hey, maybe I might. The main reason was actually from this particular scene. It's a scene where we are finally introduced properly to All For One, the main arch nemesis of the show, and in particular, of All Might. In the previous episodes, All Might mentions to Deku about All For One, a villain whose quirk was to be able to steal powers from others and keep it or give it to other people. All Might tells Deku he and All For One have been battling for years, and also all the predecessors of the One For All power have also had their run-ins with All For One, suggesting All For One has been around for a very long time. All Might thought he had got rid of All For One in a large battle years ago, but it seemed he was back and was the mastermind of the League of Villains, and also mentoring Tomura Shigaraki. He is a really interesting villain. Again, great storytelling. You will see very little clips of All For One throughout the show. The most you will learn about him is through other characters telling stories about how strong and evil he was. It's a great way to build up a main villain, and has been used in many forms of fiction. You build them up by telling their stories, but you never actually see them. You just see how they make other characters feel. When you see characters talk about a villain with worry, fear, and unease, it makes you, the audience, realize this is no ordinary street villain, this is a final boss villain, and My Hero Academia does it well here. Side note, another anime that does it really well that I've been watching recently is Monster. They build this villain called Johan so well, and I hope I can make an interesting video about him in the future, once I finish the anime in full. When All For One arrives properly into the story and practically near kills two top heroes, and you see the fear of the other heroes, you realize all the stories were true. Even some of the students who were nearby his reveal could barely move, stunned and paralyzed by sheer fear for All For One. It is an amazing scene, and I was personally so engulfed by it all, thinking, how does anyone get out of this? Is he about to kill everyone on sight? But All Might arrives to help the others, and the fight was great. Now for this part of the essay, I want to play a particular scene from this fight. All For One had just blamed All Might for destroying all his comrades in the name of so-called justice. All For One is pretty much owning the whole fight, and this is never seen before. All Might has been such a great hero. His fight where he digs deep is believable and you always root for him, but he's not having any clear luck with All For One, yet he still keeps going. This scene was amazing. Despite not having a clear chance to beat All For One, All Might kept going, and the voice acting, the animation was fantastic throughout this whole fight. The bit that really caught my attention was when All Might shut down All For One for mocking heroes saving ordinary people's lives, and got angry at All For One for toying with people, breaking them, taking advantage of them, and scoffing at them for wanting to live ordinary lives. And All Might wanted to allow All For One to destroy that, to stop people from just living. And that made me really want to root for All Might. In this scene, All Might really came across as a grounded superhero. He was here protecting the lives of ordinary people who just want to go on with their day-to-day life. People like you and me who go to school, uni, work, or even to do their groceries. And I don't think such an ideology of protecting the ordinary citizen has been so clear from any recent heroes. And this is where I feel My Hero Academia does better than some of the Western superhero movies and TV shows of the last 2 decades, from both Marvel and DC. The heroes in My Hero Academia are much more grounded, in that their main objective is to protect ordinary citizens from direct threats. And the villains feel a bit more grounded because their main targets are the heroes and the citizens. When it comes to Western superheroes, which I love, do not get me wrong, I will be in the cinema whenever there's a new one out in a heartbeat. But sometimes their heroes feel a bit out of reach, if that's the correct way of saying it. The villains they're fighting are either space alien villains or just some bad people who want to do some underground shit. Some of them do have an impact on ordinary citizens. I mean, hello, in Endgame, Thanos wiped out half the population. But I generally feel most of them feel a bit out of reach, or their targets are not necessarily on the citizens or ordinary people. An example where it isn't so direct are the recent Spider-Man movies, one of my favourite superhero of all time. He is the friendly neighbourhood hero, but the way his stories are written in the recent Tom Holland films, you never really felt that the normal everyday folks were a target. They would be an indirect casualty, but the villains were never specifically attacking any citizens like All For One was doing. In Homecoming, for example, Boku just wanted to steal some alien technology. In Far From Home, Mysterio wanted to steal Tony Stark technology, and there was collateral damage to the citizens of Venice, but they were never really the main target for Mysterio. And in No Way Home, I mean, it was really good, but again, the citizens of New York were never really the target. It was just the Green Goblin flipping out for the 20th time. Despite Spider-Man being the so-called friendly neighborhood superhero, the neighborhood was never in any real danger. And so when All For One was mocking us for living our normal lives, and the sarcasm when he talks about the things heroes have to protect, it felt personal. But we had All Might, who was standing up for us. He didn't have to, but he wanted to protect us, the quirkless, the everyday citizens. And to me, where there's so many superhero movies and TV shows, I feel like sometimes that's forgotten, that what a hero essentially is protecting those who can't protect themselves from greater evil. And yeah, like I said, some of these superhero films in the West, like Captain America and Batman, they do a great job of protecting the citizens, protecting their own people. But I feel like My Hero Academia really made this more grounded and felt a bit more home. But I haven't seen every single TV show. I've seen pretty much all the superhero movies, except for 1984. I was told that was really bad. But other than that, maybe someone could tell me, hey, there's this superhero in this movie, or this superhero in that movie, or this show that does a really good job of what you're saying My Hero Academia does. So if they do, please leave it in the comments. For now, this is the end of my video essay for My Hero Academia. Please go ahead and watch it if you're an anime fan, or if you're a superhero fan, or just a fan of good action TV shows. It's a great series. It's not too derpy or too cringe or too goofy. It's just the right amount of comedy and a great amount of action, and the art style and the work they've done for it is nothing short but amazing, with a really entertaining storyline. If you have watched My Hero Academia, do let me know in the comments and let me know what you guys think of it. And if you haven't, but you have watched it after this, again, do you agree with me? Do you love Stain? Do you love All Might? Do you hate All for One? What do you think of Shigaraki? What do you think of Deku and he's crying? But other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching our video.
If you liked our video, make sure to give it a like. And if you like what we do, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell.
See you guys in the next one.
Bye!